I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me because she forgot one small detail. One tiny mistake destroyed a 5-year relationship. And I don't think she even realizes what she's lost yet. Asterisk, before I get into this, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps, and if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, you'll definitely want to hear how this ends. Asterisk, I never thought I'd be the kind of person posting something like this online. I've always been the handle it privately type. Keep things contained. Deal with problems quietly, but this situation is eating me alive. And I honestly don't know if I'm crazy, or if I just ignored the signs for too long. I'm 29 years old. My girlfriend, Emily, is 27. We were together for almost 5 years. 5 years of shared routines, inside jokes, future plans, and what I thought was mutual trust. We met during college, struggled together in our early careers, and moved in together 2 years ago. Everyone around us thought we were solid. Her parents loved me. My friends called her the one. And until recently, I believed them. Emily wasn't perfect, but neither was I. We argued sometimes, mostly about small things, dishes, schedules, money stress, normal couple stuff. Nothing that ever made me question her loyalty. At least, not until 3 months ago. That's when things started to feel off. Not dramatically off. No lipstick on collars. No secret phone calls in the bathroom. Nothing obvious enough to scream cheating. It was subtle. She started guarding her phone more carefully. She used to leave it face up on the table, and locked, all the time. Suddenly, it was always face down. Always on silent, always within arm's reach. When I'd ask what she was smiling at, she'd say, "Just TikTok," or "my friend Sarah being dumb again." At first, I didn't question it. People are allowed privacy. I didn't want to be that guy. Then came the late nights. Emily started working late more often. She's in marketing, so deadlines happen. I get that. But these late nights were inconsistent. Sometimes she'd come home exhausted. Other times, oddly energized. Like she'd just had fun. She'd walk in smiling, humming, tossing her keys on the counter like nothing was wrong. When I'd ask how work went, she'd shrug and say, "Same old." Something about that didn't sit right with me. Still, I told myself I was overthinking. The real turning point came on a random Tuesday. I remember it clearly because it was such an ordinary day. I got home early from work, ordered takeout, and decided to surprise her by cleaning the apartment. I even lit one of those candles she likes, the vanilla one that's way too strong. She texted me saying she'd be late again. I replied with, "No worries. Dinner's waiting." She didn't respond. Around 9:30 p.m., I heard her keys. She walked in, saw the clean apartment, the food, the candle, and instead of smiling, her face dropped for just a split second. She covered it up quickly, but I noticed. "Wow," she said, forcing a smile. "You didn't have to do all this." That's when I knew something was wrong, because she didn't look happy. She looked guilty. We ate in silence. She picked at her food, checked her phone constantly. When I tried to make conversation, her answers were short and distracted. Finally, I asked her directly, "Is everything okay?" She froze. Just for a moment. Then she laughed and said, "Yeah, why wouldn't it be?" I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. But that night, when she fell asleep before me, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. I stared at it, my heart pounding so loud I was sure she'd wake up. I didn't touch it. I didn't unlock it. I just watched the screen light up with notifications from a name I didn't recognize. And that was the moment everything started to unravel. I didn't check her phone that night. I want to make that very clear. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, pretending to sleep while my mind ran in circles. Every vibration from her phone felt like a punch to the chest. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. A coworker, a group chat, anything that didn't involve betrayal. But deep down, I already knew. The next morning, Emily acted completely normal. Too normal. She kissed me goodbye, grabbed her coffee, complained about traffic, and rushed out the door like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't spent half the night texting someone else while lying next to me. That contrast messed with my head more than anything. For the next week, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. And once you start noticing things, you can't stop. She began showering the moment she got home. Every single night. She'd take longer showers too. And when she came out, she'd be wearing fresh clothes even if she claimed she'd just been at the office. She changed her passwords. I didn't know them before, but I noticed because she used to unlock her phone with her fingerprint. Suddenly, she switched to a passcode. Same with her laptop. And then there was the gym. Emily had never been much of a gym person. She preferred yoga at home, maybe a jog on weekends. Now she was suddenly going to the gym 4 times a week. Always alone. Always in a hurry. One evening, I casually asked, "Who do you usually work out with?" She didn't even look at me when she replied, "No one. Just me." The way she said it felt rehearsed. I started questioning my own sanity. I'd replay conversations in my head, analyzing her tone, her body language, the timing of her texts. I hated the person I was becoming, paranoid, suspicious, constantly on edge. But then came the first real slip. It happened on a Friday night. She said she was going out for drinks with Sarah and a few coworkers. I told her to have fun. She hugged me, said she'd be home late, and left wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Around midnight, I texted her, "Everything okay?" No response. At 1:12 a.m., I checked her location. She was nowhere near the bar she mentioned. She was across town, in a neighborhood she had no reason to be in. I stared at the map for a long time, hoping it was a glitch. I refreshed it, closed the app, opened it again. Same location. That was the first time I felt something inside me break. When she finally came home at almost 3 a.m., she smelled different. Not like alcohol. Not like her usual perfume. Something sharper, colder. She crawled into bed, turned her back to me, and whispered, "I'm exhausted. I didn't sleep at all that night." The next morning, I asked her how the bar was. She hesitated. Just long enough. "You know," she said. "Crowded, loud, same stuff." I nodded and smiled like an idiot. That day, I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I stopped trusting her words and started trusting patterns. I began quietly documenting things, dates, times, locations, excuses. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed to know the truth. I needed proof, if not for anyone else, then for myself. 2 weeks later, I found it. Not messages, not photos. Something worse. I was using her laptop to print something she'd offered it herself because mine was updating. As I opened the browser, a calendar tab was already open. At first glance, it looked normal. Work meetings, deadlines, social plans. Then I noticed recurring events labeled simply as D. Every Tuesday and Friday. Always from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. No description. No location. Just the letter D. My heart started racing. That night, I asked her about it. "What's D on your calendar?" I said casually, like it didn't matter. She didn't even blink. That's just a dumb reminder I forgot to delete," she replied instantly. Too instantly. "And it repeats twice a week." I asked. She shrugged. "I guess." That answer didn't sit right with me at all. Because here's the thing about Emily. She's obsessive about organization. Color-coded calendars. Detailed notes. Reminders for everything. She doesn't forget things like that. That night, I knew for sure. She wasn't just hiding something. She was living a second life. And I was standing right in the middle of it, pretending not to see. After that conversation about the calendar, things changed. Not on the surface. On the surface, everything stayed exactly the same. Emily still kissed me goodbye in the mornings, still asked what I wanted for dinner, still laughed at my jokes, still talked about vacations we should take someday. But now I knew she was lying. And once you know that, every word sounds fake. I couldn't stop thinking about that letter. D. It played on repeat in my head. D for dinner. D for drinks. D for him. I hated myself for how obsessed I became, but I also knew something important. If I confronted her without proof, she'd deny everything. She was too calm, to control. So I waited. The following Tuesday, she told me she had a late meeting. Same excuse. Same tone. At exactly 6:45 p.m., she left the apartment, dressed nicely, but not too nicely, like she was trying not to be obvious. At 7:10 p.m., I checked her location again. Same area as before. That was when I did something I never imagined myself doing. I followed her. I told myself I was just going for a drive, that I wouldn't actually confront anyone, that I'd turn back if I felt stupid. I didn't turn back. I parked a block away from the location on the map. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit in the car for a minute just to breathe. Then I saw her. She walked into a small, quiet cafe, the kind of place couples go when they don't want to be seen. Dim lights, outdoor seating, no loud music. 5 minutes later, a man walked in. Tall, well-dressed, confident, and she smiled at him in a way I hadn't seen in months. That smile hurt more than anything else. They hugged, not a friendly hug, a long one. I sat there, frozen, watching through the windshield like my life was playing on someone else's screen. They sat close, too close. His hand rested on her knee. She didn't move it away. I stayed for 10 minutes. That's all I could handle. I drove home in silence, my chest tight, my thoughts completely empty. When Emily came home that night, she kissed me on the cheek and said, "Sorry, the meeting ran late." I nodded. That was the moment I realized something important. She wasn't scared of getting caught. She was comfortable lying to my face. 2 days later, I got my answer about the name. It happened accidentally. She left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered, face up, and locked. Notification popped up. "Daniel, I can't stop thinking about last night." My stomach dropped. So that was it. D equals Daniel. I didn't open the message. I didn't scroll. I didn't touch anything. I didn't need to. That single sentence told me everything. Later that evening, I asked her something simple. "Is there anyone at work you're especially close to?" I said. She frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "Like someone you spend a lot of time with." She shook her head. "No." "Why?" No hesitation. No guilt. No shame. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at her while she slept, wondering how someone could lie so easily to someone who trusted them completely. Wondering when I became an option instead of a priority. And then I realized something else. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a relationship. A real one. The kind that gets calendar reminders. And suddenly, the question wasn't if she was cheating anymore. It was how long it had been going on, and how far she was willing to take it. Once I knew his name, I couldn't unsee him. Every late meeting, every gym session, every Tuesday and Friday. It all had a face now. Daniel. I started noticing how often his name came up indirectly. Not directly. Emily was smarter than that, but in the way she talked about her job. "There's this guy at work who thinks he knows everything," she said one night, rolling her eyes. Another time, "One of the managers is being really supportive lately." She never said his name out loud, but I knew. And the worst part, she talked about him with emotion, not frustration, not annoyance. Energy. Meanwhile, conversations with me had become empty, practical, safe. We talked about groceries, bills, schedules, about what needed fixing in the apartment, About things that didn't matter. I realized I had slowly become the stable option, the reliable one, the background character in my own relationship. 2 weeks later, I found out who Daniel really was. Emily left her laptop open again. This time, an email notification popped up while she was in the bathroom. I wasn't trying to snoop. But the subject line hit me like a truck. Great seeing you last night. It was from a company email address. I opened it. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. Daniel wasn't just some coworker. He was her team lead. Married, mid-30s, 2 kids. The email wasn't explicit, but it didn't need to be. It talked about how easy things felt with her, how he hadn't felt this understood in years, how he wished they didn't have to be careful. Closed the laptop and went to the bathroom. I threw up. Not because she cheated, but because I realized something far worse. She wasn't planning to leave me. She was planning to keep me. I was the safe home, the shared apartment, the predictable future. He was excitement. That realization destroyed something inside me. That night, I confronted her, not about Daniel, not about cheating, but about us. Do you still see a future with me? I asked. She looked surprised. Of course I do. Why would you ask that? When was the last time you felt excited to be with me? I pressed. She hesitated. There it was again, that tiny pause. I don't know, she said quietly. We're just comfortable. Double quotes comfortable. 5 years boiled down to that word. I nodded and said nothing. Inside, I was already grieving a relationship that wasn't real anymore. Over the next few days, I paid attention to how she treated me compared to how she treated her phone. She smiled more at her screen than at me. She dressed better for work than for dates with me. She stayed up late texting him, then rolled away from me in bed. And then came the final straw. One evening, she mentioned very casually that she might have to travel for work the following weekend, overnight. Short notice. I asked where. She named a city Daniel lived near. That's when I knew. This wasn't just emotional anymore. This was about to become something I couldn't ignore. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse her. I smiled and said, okay, let me know if you need anything. That night, I made a plan. Because if she was willing to live a double life, then she wasn't going to control how the truth came out. Once I made the decision, everything felt strangely calm, like my mind finally accepted what my heart had been trying to deny for months. Emily told me she'd be leaving Friday afternoon and coming back Saturday night. Work thing, she said, avoiding eye contact. I told her not to rush, that I'd handle things at home. She kissed me before leaving. That kiss felt like betrayal in physical form. As soon as she walked out the door, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I waited. At exactly 6:40 p.m., I checked her location. Not the hotel she'd mentioned. Not even the city she claimed she'd be in. She was at Daniel's address. I knew because I'd already looked it up. That part still makes me feel ashamed. But what I found next erased any doubt I had left. She forgot something. Her old tablet. We rarely used it anymore. It sat in a drawer, mostly dead, still connected to her accounts. I plugged it in without thinking, just hoping to distract myself. That's when the notifications started flooding in. Messages, photos, voice notes from Daniel. I didn't want to look. I did anyway. There were weeks worth of messages, flirting, complaints about his wife, plans about when things settle down, photos from hotel rooms I recognized from her work trips. And then I saw the message that broke me. I hate lying to him, but I don't want to lose what I have. She wasn't talking about Daniel. She was talking about me. I sat on the floor for a long time after that. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. Emily, everything okay at home? I stared at the message, realizing how absurd it all was. She was worried about the apartment. Not about me. That night, I didn't respond. Instead, I packed a bag, not to leave forever but to leave enough space for the truth to breathe. The next morning, she texted again, "I'll be home later tonight. Miss you." I didn't reply, because at that point, there was nothing left to say. When she finally came home that evening, she found the apartment exactly as she left it, clean, quiet, except for one thing. On the kitchen table, there was the tablet. Unlocked. Open. Waiting. I wasn't there to see her reaction, but I didn't need to be, because I knew that the moment she saw it, her double life was over. I came back to the apartment late that night. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I knew running away forever wouldn't give me closure. The lights were on. Emily was sitting at the kitchen table, exactly where I'd left the tablet. She looked small. Not guilty in the dramatic way you see in movies. Not crying. Not angry. Just cornered. The moment she saw me, she stood up. "I can explain," she said immediately. Of course she did. I didn't sit down. I didn't raise my voice. I just asked one question. "How long?" She swallowed. "Since January." It was September. 8 months. 8 months of lies. Of coming home to me. Of kissing me goodnight after being with someone else. I nodded slowly, letting the number sink in. "Did you ever plan to tell me?" I asked. She shook her head. "No." At least she was honest this time. She started crying then. Real tears. She talked fast, like if she explained enough, she couldn't do everything. She said she felt lonely, that things between us became routine, that Daniel made her feel seen again, that it wasn't supposed to go this far. I listened without interrupting. Then I asked, "Do you love him?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. "I don't know," she whispered. That hurt more than a yes would have. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. "You used me as your safety net," I said quietly. "You kept me around so you wouldn't be alone." "That's not true," she cried. "I love you. But love doesn't look like calendar reminders. Love doesn't look like lies that last almost a year." I told her about the location, the cafe, the messages, the email. Her face went pale. She hadn't just been caught. She'd been seen. Then came the part I wasn't ready for. She asked me not to tell anyone. Not her parents. Not my friends. Not his wife. She begged me to handle it privately. That's when I realized something terrifying. She wasn't sorry she did it. She was sorry she got caught. I told her I needed time, that I couldn't stay there that night. She asked where I was going. I said, "Somewhere I can breathe." As I walked out, she said something that will stay with me forever. "Please don't ruin his family." I didn't respond, because at that moment, I understood the full cost of her choices. She wasn't protecting people. She was protecting herself. I didn't go back to the apartment for 3 days. I stayed with a friend who didn't ask questions, didn't push, didn't try to fix anything. He just let me exist in silence. That silence did more for me than any advice ever could. During those 3 days, Emily texted me constantly. Apologies, voice messages, promises. "I'll cut contact. It was a mistake. I'll do therapy. We can start over." I read every message, and for a moment, I almost believed her, because when you've loved someone for 5 years, walking away feels unnatural. It feels like cutting off a part of yourself, even when you know staying would destroy you. On the 4th day, I went back to the apartment. She was waiting for me. She looked exhausted. Red eyes. No makeup. Like she hadn't slept at all. "I ended it," she said immediately. "I told him we can't talk anymore." I nodded. Then I asked one last question. "If I hadn't found out, would you still be seeing him?" She didn't answer. That silence was my closure. I told her I was moving out. She broke down completely then, crying, begging, apologizing again and again, telling me she'd do anything. But there are some things that can't be undone. Trust isn't something you repair with words. Respect isn't something you rebuild with promises. I packed my things slowly. 5 years fits into boxes much easier than you expect. Before I left, I did one last thing. I told Daniel's wife. I didn't do it out of revenge. I didn't do it to hurt anyone. I did it because she deserved the truth I didn't get. Emily called me screaming when she found out. She said I ruined lives, but I didn't create the lies. I just stopped protecting them. It's been 6 months now. I have my own place. It's smaller, quieter, lonelier sometimes, but it's honest. Emily tried to reach out a few times after that. I never responded. Not because I hate her, but because I finally respect myself. If you're reading this and something feels off in your relationship, trust that feeling. Love doesn't live in secrecy, and loyalty doesn't require reminders. If you've ever been in a situation like this, share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone who's silently going through the same thing. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want more real Reddit-style stories like this. Thank you for listening. Asterisk.